Hi guys, I finally did it. Finally had a Beast Warrior game where I can talk about Beast Warrior being good. The reason I say finally is because I don't play that many games a day right now because I'm working, so I play about 1 or 2 maximum, and to get a Beast Warrior composition to work, you usually have to have a good start. And when I say a good start, I mean you're looking for a 2-star Tusk champion at the very least. Then Swordman and Abyssal Guard also at 2-star where you can. This is the composition I use. This is Beast, Warrior, Warlock. 2 Beasts, 6 Warriors, 2 Warlocks. The reason I chose Desperate Doctor was for the synergy with Berserker to give him the Glacial bonus, and the reason I chose Soul Reaper was for the extra sustain. You could replace any of those with Venomancer, depending on what your composition needs. So it's basically up to you. The even Dark Spirit, it's very flexible what you'll need to actually achieve a victory here. But I went for Soul Reaper and Desperate Doctor because I wanted the extra sustain, and we'll talk about why when we get to the end of the game, because there's an important end game thing that we need to talk about. But Beast Warrior is very much alive, and it's very much a good, strong composition that doesn't really require you to high roll too much. You do require a little bit of high rolling, but not too much. By the way, if you didn't know, giving away a Switch on the channel this month, so make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and then leave a comment on the video, because that comment gets you an entry into the competition, which will be drawn in 2 days. I think it's drawn in 2 days, so yeah, Switch giveaway in 2 days, guys. My boy Claytano giving away a PS4, so go and check him out. So as per usual, I am going to do this in 2 times. I'm going to show you from the early game to the late game in 2 times speed, just because, again, I can kind of talk over my decisions without needing to slow things down at this stage in the game, because there's a lot of waiting around, especially in the early neutral rounds. There's a lot of waiting around in the early rounds in general. It just starts to speed up as we get towards the late game. So I went for a pair of Tusk champions and a God of War. The reason I did that was because I wanted the pair of Tusk champions to get a Tusk champion too, and now got a pair of God of Wars. God of War is a good, suitable warrior until you need to start branching into 2 beasts. So what you'll notice that I do with this God of War is I actually try and maintain the Divinity bonus in the early game with the warriors for as long as possible, because actually Divinity Warrior early game is a pretty solid synergy, especially when you've got Tusk Champion and Swordman, because basically Swordman can infinitely spin, and Tusk Champion can obviously slap people in the head really quickly. So in terms of giving my items over to people, I give my items over to just the people that I know that I'm going to end up giving away, like selling later into the game. So I'm going to give any defensive items over to God of War, because I know that I'm not going to keep him, and then I'm going to give any offensive items over to a unit that I know that I'm not going to keep either. Now in this scenario, it could be many things, but I could also, what you'll notice that I'm going to do is eventually is give it to my Water Spirit, because I get a 2-star Water Spirit. Now a 2-star Water Spirit is a very, very, very strong early game unit, and I like to have it because it's got a lot of magical damage, it's quite tanky, and it's a ranged unit as well. And if you give him some mana generation or also attack speed, like you'll see I give my Water Spirit some attack speed, he's actually pretty powerful at dealing with the early game. So I've got loads of pairs, as you see, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to roll. I had, if we count, we had a pair of Tusk Champions, a pair of God of Wars, we had a pair of Water Spirits, a pair of Soul Breakers, and a pair of Heaven Bombers. So I had like 5 pairs. That was definitely worth a roll. I think anything from about, I would say like, you've got 3 to 4 pairs and you have nothing else to spend your gold on and you don't want to level up, it might be worth rolling in that scenario. So that's the kind of scenarios in the early game that I would suggest like absolutely rolling, because especially if you're not on a win streak or a lose streak. So you see here that I actually end up rolling again because I have so many pairs still left over. And actually, I have given my attack speed over to my Water Spirit. You saw he basically carried me in that last fight. And I'm giving my defensive items over to God of War. I'm still maintaining my God bonus. Recognize that I'm still maintaining my God bonus. This is very important. God of War's damage output is next to none if you don't have the God bonus. So by having the God bonus, you make sure you're actually doing something with your God of War in the early game. I am also keeping my goblins. There is actually a point in time where I would end up sacrificing these goblins. That is coming up pretty soon. I have not been able to make an early start with goblins. If you can't get a paired goblin by round 10, and you're not running the full goblin bonus and they don't fit into your composition, I would probably say give up on goblins. If I can't find, I usually give up on goblins earlier than this, to be honest, but if I can't find a a 2-star Soulbreaker or a 2-star Fan Bomber or a 2-star Skybreaker by round 10, I'm selling them most of the time. Because then I don't really have a place for them to fit into my composition. You can see here that like I've got 3 2-stars on board already, and we've hit round 9 now, and I just don't have a place. I just don't have a place for the goblins in my composition anymore. So I end up buying some bits in case I want to go gods. So you can see I buy Thunder Spirit and the Feather Shining Dragon. That is just in case I do indeed want to end up going gods. I actually ended up losing this one because my Water Spirit got silent. This guy had a Doom very early on, but that's okay. Like I hit 10 gold by round 9, so I'm pretty happy with that outcome. And you can see I pick up yet another Tusk Champion. This is actually a good opportunity now for me to say, right, I probably am okay with committing to Beast Warrior as a platform right now. And you can see I'm hovering over my Thunder Spirit and Shining Dragon saying, well, I don't really think they're going to come in useful now because I've got an almost 3-star Tusk Champion. And having a 3-star Tusk Champion is a pretty good core unit for your Beast Warrior builds. You can see actually I also pick up a load of other really important pieces to input here. I also level up to level 6, sell off the bits that were going to be part of my God Warrior composition, my God composition, and add the 2-star Abyssal Guard. This is actually now giving me a super strong early warrior comp with a 2-star Water Spirit to help me deal damage across the team. The problem that 2-star Water Spirit is going to come into troubles with is, and the reason that he falls off, is that people stop putting their stuff in the middle of the chessboard by about round 13 to 15. They start going, once they're level 6 and above, they start thinking about corner positions. And Water Spirit is not particularly good outside of assassins going into corner positions. Just simply because he just doesn't have the opportunity to get his ultimate off. You need to make maximum use of your ultimate, so either you have to draw people out, but the problem is if you draw people out, Water Spirit is going to jump to the back line by himself, or you just need to try and face people who are positioned like me in the early game, like you can see here. Like I am positioned in a line at the front of the board. The reason I position like this as a warrior player is because I want my warriors to engage as soon as physically possible. I basically don't want them to have to travel the distance of the board to actually engage the fight, because they don't have any benefit from being at range. They have much more benefit from just jumping on the enemy team as soon as physically possible. So what I'm doing here, and what you've noticed maybe just by the gold total, is I'm looking to build up to around 50 economy around round 15 or 16, so that by the time we get to round 16, I have a clear level up to level 7. I'm looking to level up on curve to level 7, which would be leveling up at round 16 to level 7, given the leveling up pattern that I've taken so far. I've leveled up a little bit off curve in the early game, but I'm looking to do an on-curve level up as this game progresses. Now you can see, I see a Razor Claw here. And suddenly I'm like, yeah, okay, Razor Claw, that's my beast. That's the second beast that I could put in. If I can get Razor Claw 3 in this composition, like he's a super strong individual unit, and can benefit from the beast bonus really nicely. And to be honest, the Red Axe Chief is just there if a potential 9 warrior build opens up. Which is a little bit more difficult because now they've removed Stone Spirit, you actually need to get Rogue Guard, so you actually have to rely on a legendary to get the 6 warrior build now. Sorry, the 9 warrior build now. So that makes it a bit more difficult. You can see I'm actually just loading everything up onto my Water Spirit here. There's still part of me that's unsure if I'm going to go for a God Warrior comp, so I'm keeping God of War around. But yeah, I'm loading everything up onto Water Spirit because I absolutely know I'm getting rid of him. Unfortunately, he just gets one shot by the sniper, and this guy's got a super strong early hunter composition, so there goes my potential win streak down the drain. But realistically, it doesn't matter that much. The reason it doesn't matter that much is because I was already at 50 gold after that round. So once you're at 50 gold, you don't have to worry, unless you're still on a win streak, about protecting your win streak, because you're living off the interest at this point. So don't make decisions to protect a win streak unless you're on a massive win streak at 50 gold. If you're at 50 gold and you're middling, like I was in this game, you literally just make decisions to level up off interest or roll off interest. For me, level 8 is like the core part of this build. So I'm going to split my decision making between rolling and also leveling up. The reason I rolled over the course of these few rolls is that I was level 7, so I have an increased chance of finding Doom and Pirate Captain. And Doom and Pirate Captain are actually really important to my composition. You can see that I'm deliberating buying Warpwood Sage because getting all of the druids would be really important for me. Just to be able to level up the Razorclaw easily to the next level. But you can see here that actually we can just sell off the Red Axe here and end up winning. End up getting up to 50 gold. So yeah, I'm essentially now playing with a level 2 Razorclaw. I've gone into my Beast Warrior comp. I've got rid of my Water Spirit. I've got rid of my God of War. And we have a level 3 Tusk Champion. So that's the decisions that I made over the last few rounds. I rolled because I was looking for core units, and I found core units to replace the Water Spirit and my God of War. I was then looking for essentially druids to level up my Razorclaw. So I'm going to keep these druids around for as long as possible. I would not recommend, if you can avoid it, you don't need to keep the druids like Warpwood Sage and Whisperseer. It's nice to keep a unicorn because it's a 1 cost, but you don't need to keep your bench full with like a Whisperseer and a Warpwood Sage if you haven't already found the Razorclaws to level him up. Razorclaw is the hardest part to find, so you can always roll after you've found the Razorclaw to get to... You can always roll after you found the Razorclaw to get the druids necessary. So what you might end up seeing me do here is selling this Warpwood Sage to get back to 50 gold. That's just because... well, I hope I do. Like, I think on reflection I would have sold the Warpwood Sage to get to 50 gold here. Am I going to do it? Yeah, I do. Okay, right, cool. I did it. That's nice. The reason I would have done this is because... I wanted the 50 gold to get the interest gold. I don't have the rest of the Razorclaws, so that is just 3 gold sitting on my bench for no apparent reason. That's the reason why I think it was the better decision to try and sell that Razorclaw right there. So you see I'm starting to lose now. That's because I have a pretty weak comp ever since I transitioned into Beast Warrior. So there is a point in the game now where I'm going to have to think about rolling. I have some 3 stars on the horizon, including my... I have some 3 stars on the horizon, including my Abyssal Guard. I want to get some really important 2 stars, as you can see. I'm looking at getting 2-star Doom and 2-star Pirate Captain, also 2-star Berserker. Berserker's going to end up being my carry here, which is why I'm going to give him these wooden clubs. And I'm also thinking about the Werewolf. Now, the Werewolf has come into consideration because I could go for a 4-beast strategy here. However, given the situation that I'm in at this point in time, I think it's probably better not to use the Werewolf, just because he doesn't really fit. You know, I was thinking about slotting him in somewhere, but he doesn't really fit now. And also, it's got past the point where Werewolf is a really good tank. Like, Werewolf has stopped becoming a really good tank now, at level 2 especially. So, actually, it's okay to take Werewolf out of this composition, because it's good to chunk people in the mid-game, it's good to chunk people in the early game. Like, his little summons are a really good way to ruin people's HP values. But realistically, he doesn't really fit into the composition that I'm running right now, because I've already got a 3-star Tusk Champion, I've got a 2-star Razorclaw, I have the Beast. I'm probably not fitting in 4 Beasts into this composition, and the reason I'm probably not fitting 4 Beasts into this composition is because I want to go for that Warlock bonus as well. I also want to go for as many 2-stars, 3 stars as physically possible, so I'm probably not switching out things. So like I said here, like, it's not worth keeping the druids on your board until you find the Razorclaws necessary. So you can see that I found the Razorclaws necessary over the last few rolls, and now I've got a Razorclaw 3. So we actually have a really strong composition right now. The way that we improve it is a 3-star Abyssal Guard and a 3-star Swordman. We have actually got a 2-star Doom already, we've got a 2-star Pirate Captain already. And if you're wondering about itemization, most of my defensive items have gone onto... I've split them basically between Doom, and I've split them between Doom and Pirate Captain. And then all of my offensive items are going onto my Berserker. So that's the split that I've made with my composition. Now I'm looking to think about going to level 9. What I'm going to do at level 9 is bring on a Desperate Doctor and bring on a Soul Reaper. There was a part of me that was thinking about a Venomancer, but there are not many people here with high armor builds. There's no Knight players and there are no Warrior players, so Venomancer doesn't get as much value in this game. So it's better to go for the Soul Reaper to bring the extra sustain to the table for this particular build, which is why I wanted to go for Soul Reaper over the Venomancer. And then I bring Desperate Doctor on because he's going to give an attack speed bonus to my Berserker, who has become the main carry of this composition, which is why you see I'm saving my economy now. I'm saving my economy because I want to get to 30 gold, realistically, and then over the next few rounds, I'll then use that 30 gold to get to level 9. There is another way to play this build, and it means it's about you could add a marine bonus, so I could add a siren at whatever level I wanted to. The reason I'm not adding a siren is because there isn't actually that many magic damage compositions. There are no mages left in this game, so there is actually no point adding the marine bonus, and I don't have any magic crystals for my siren. If I had magic crystals, I would actually add the siren because it increases the physical damage that I do, which is good for a warrior composition. But realistically, apart from this one dragon build here, there is no magic builds in this game, and like I said, I also don't have any mana generation items for my siren, which is going to make her much worse. It will absolutely make her much worse. So I'm not going to level up on this round because I know that I beat Thunderhides anyway, so I'm basically going to try and get the extra gold to roll down with. I do see a Desperate Doctor in my inventory there, which I do buy, thank you. Thank you, past Excoundrel, for buying the Desperate Doctor when you were supposed to. So I'm sure someone will flame me somewhere down the line for not seeing that. But yeah, thanks, Desperate Doctor. You did a good job. Or thanks, Excoundrel, rather. You did a good job. I got Heaven's Gift as well, by the way, guys. I also picked up 2 bladed blade mails, which is obviously a big deal. So you can see here, I was thinking about adding a helicopter just for the sake of it. Helicopter would be good against the feathered player. So right now we've got another beast warrior, not even a beast warrior, like a glacier warrior comp, who just got knocked out. I believe we also have the Goblin Gamble composition in the form of Be Humble, and we also have the guy playing the full feathered composition. You can see here that I get double Soul Reaper. That is a lock, if I've ever seen one in my life. I absolutely lock double Soul Reaper here. And that would then allow me to use my egg, which has been sitting on my bench forever. Because there's nothing else really, apart from maybe a Swordman that I'd want to egg in this scenario. But getting the Warlock bonus would actually help me versus the Goblin Gamble comp, because they don't actually deal that much damage, the Goblins. They don't deal too much damage. And actually adding the Warlock bonus would be huge. I do end up selling off the Desperate Doctor. He's actually not so important to 2-star in this particular scenario, if I'm completely honest with you. The reason he's not so important to 2-star is because he's literally only there to provide the Warlock bonus and the Glacier bonus. He actually doesn't add much to the composition as a whole. But now that I've got the Warlock bonus, we're actually starting to sustain much more. Even versus the Feathered player, we're doing okay. And you can see this is me versus the Goblin player. So I actually beat the Goblin player by adding in the Warlock bonus. And that also gives me a load of items. Now, this is actually a really important part. I actually use the Fish Fork to create the item that builds into the items I have. You know what? I just don't even remember the name of those items. The one that prevents... The one that allows your attacks to pierce evasion. The one that if you get the Ghost Blade, you can upgrade it to have... it basically upgrades to say that your attacks can never be dodged. That's the item that I'm trying to build on my Berserker, because I know that I'm playing Feathered. So this is actually an itemization decision that I'm trying to use to help me out here. And you can see that even with just the first iteration of it, I'm beating him on his screen as well. So it is important that I made that item, because actually it's like genuinely it's an item that will help, that will win this game for me if I find it. It's an item that will win this game for me if I find it. Now, you're wondering why I'm positioning like this. I'm basically splitting out some of my DPS. I've actually slowed it down to 1 times now, so we can talk about the positioning in general. I find the Ghost Blade, by the way, which is insane lucky. This is the item. What is it called? What's it called? I need to find out what it's called, guys. This is an experiment. It's called Monkey King Bar. There you go. I find Monkey King Bar, which is actually an incredibly important item for my Berserker. The reason it's incredibly important for my Berserker is because it's going to allow him to just hit everything on this Feathered comp. Like, he will be able to hit this Feathered comp over and over again. So now you might be wondering about my positioning. I can see that he hasn't positioned his Taboo Witcher in front of anything important, so that's why I've put my Abyssal Guard directly in front of his Taboo Witcher. I've tried to put my Berserker directly in front of his front line, because I want my Berserker to hit his front line as quickly as possible, because it's the only one that's going to be able to chunk through his front line with no particular issue. And you can see here that he's actually hitting everything. They're never dodging. He's doing a lot of damage because he's also got the armor piercing item where you get from 2 rune hammers. So he's actually just really hurting every time he hits. And he's actually on his screen, basically I'm solo winning it with my Berserker. And on my screen, I'm also solo winning it with my Berserker. It was an addition to my composition, that item that is basically going to help me win the game. I'm basically trying to keep myself on the side that he's positioned on. I try to wrap my composition around him and trying to keep my Berserker in line with his front line. What I do make a mistake here is I just think that he's going to stay in that corner, and I don't scout him towards the end of this phase. And you can see, I could already see that he was moving over some of his hunters, but I didn't think that he was moving over the whole composition. And what I end up finding is that he pretty much moved over the whole composition. Now, the problem that I have on this particular round is that my Berserker gets locked up hitting his Razorclaw, which has got an Orb of Refresh, by the way. His Razorclaw has got an Orb of Refresh, which is a pretty big deal, because it's a 3-star Razorclaw with an Orb of Refresh. But you can see that my Berserker got locked up hitting the Razorclaw, then turned around and started hitting the Shining Assassin. And actually, we've now got to the point where I was very, very close to losing this. The only thing that kept me remotely relevant here was the fact that I got a Chain Pirate Captain ultimate, and then that allowed my Berserker, who's got the Frantic Mask and the Warlock bonus, to stack up and beat his entire backline. That Berserker is single-handedly carrying me this game. Why does it feel so slow? Have I accidentally put this in like slower than 100% speed? No, this is 100% speed. This just felt really slow. I don't know if you guys notice when you've watched in 2 times and then it comes down to 1 times. It feels really slow. Like, it's probably not that slow, but it just feels really slow. So what I'm doing is I've noticed that he's gone over to the other side. Obviously, he's gone over to the other side. I'm putting my Desperate Doctor by himself at the back line. Now, why am I doing that? Because I want the Shining Assassin to get stuck on my Desperate Doctor for a little bit. Basically, the Shining Assassin is the one that's distracting my Berserker. The longer that my Berserker gets distracted, the less likely I am to beat this guy. So I need to make sure that my Berserker is not distracted by the Shining Assassin. Now, unfortunately, I don't beat him on his... Well, I don't... Do I beat him on his screen? Actually, this might be just about beating him on his screen. Yeah, okay, we beat him on his screen, but ever so, just like without my Berserker, which is crazy. On my screen, we managed to beat him pretty convincingly, but unfortunately, the Desperate Doctor didn't survive long enough to deal with the 1-star Shining Assassin. So what I need to do now is, to be honest with you, Abyssal Guard is not that relevant for me right now. So my main concern is basically putting everything behind Berserker that doesn't need to be on the front line. Apparently past me decided that actually it's okay to just have my Soul Reaper and my Desperate Doctor do it, but that's okay. I probably would have put Abyssal Guard on the back line as well, just to distract the Shining Assassin. But I basically don't want my Berserker to get distracted. The reason I don't want my Berserker to get distracted is because he is literally the one that is going to chunk through the entire front line from the enemy. I'm very lucky that my Doom instantly silences the refresh Razorclaw, and we beat him on his screen, and I'm basically saying GG here, because I know the guy, he's a Queen player. We beat him on his screen. We have shown that Beast Warrior is actually pretty solid, even into Queen lobbies, and I know that was a Queen lobby because the guy that I was playing at the end was definitely Queen, because I have him on my friends list. So that was a Queen lobby that we ended up playing Beast Warrior into, and because of some itemization choices, we ended up beating the Feathered Hunter player as well with Beast Warrior. So it's still a really strong composition, and you guys should definitely consider it. And don't ignore Beast Warriors, even though they got nerfed, they're actually still pretty good.